Have you ever wondered what your hands, heart, and intuition might reveal about your life? Welcome to Live Soul Readings, Hands, Hearts, and Higher Guidance with Cynthia Clark and Megan Brown. Each week, we explore meaningful themes, answer heartfelt questions, and offer live soul readings, intuitive messages, and higher guidance to bring greater clarity to your relationships, purpose, healing, and next steps. Want a chance to be featured live? Submit your hand photos and questions in advance. And join us every Saturday at 10 a.m. Arizona time. Because sometimes the guidance you've been seeking has been waiting for you all along.
Hello, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the show. We are so excited today. We are going to be talking about intuition versus fear. So, which, I'd like to just start off by saying, the two are not mutually exclusive. So you can have some fear, and you can also be picking up on your intuition. But the key, I think, is to pay attention. Do you have an intuition practice? This is the question I would pose to everyone. Do you have like a routine where you actually tune into your intuition and you test it? This is something that I've been doing for many years, and it can be so much fun to actually give it a go and deciding, wow, yeah, I was right about that. Or maybe I'm not right about that, but it's good to just tune in. And if we don't actually gauge it, how are we going to know, right? So those are my first comments on this topic. What about you, Megan?
Very true. It's interesting because intuition over the years in my life has been about having that gut instinct, that feeling inside like, oh, something about this. And it could be good. It could be neutral. It could be, just simply an observation, or, oh, I don't know why I don't get a good feeling here. And you mentioned, so that's what I go by. But you also mentioned the fear. So I think the fear is more, I don't know, somehow I think that's linked to our upbringings,
Yeah, I would agree with that.
We haven't been allowed to continue to mature our innate self, which would be the sixth sense, like the movie, right? You just get this sixth sense, this gut instinct. That's what I think, but.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So sometimes intuition comes in to protect us, right? So, I actually avoided a head-on collision one time by listening to my intuition. This was one of my best stories. I was on a highway by myself, driving, and I felt prompted to pray to Archangel Michael, actually, is how it came in, which is, yeah, I know, he's so great. But he's the protector, right? And so I just felt like I needed to do that, and I didn't know why. And I wasn't really afraid either, which is interesting. I was fine. Like, I was driving, and I did that road all the time. And yeah, I ended up avoiding a head-on collision that would have totally killed me 2 minutes later. So had I not done that, I don't know what would have happened, but somebody moved my steering wheel, and it definitely wasn't me. So that's how powerful our intuition can be when we need to be, we're in danger, right? But then there's also sometimes we are afraid of something that we know we need to be doing and we don't do it. So, for example, maybe you're in a bad relationship and you need to get out of that relationship. Maybe it's toxic. Maybe it's abusive. How long do you stay in that relationship? And sometimes we stay in far longer than we should. And our intuition's been telling us for a long time, the little red flags are blowing in the wind, right? And do you listen to that or not? So, these are, and there's reasons, right, why we would stay in a bad relationship. And a lot of times we give the excuse, right? We give excuses. Oh, but they're going to change, or I can help them, or, maybe I'm being selfish. We give those excuses. So you need to look into your own intuition and ask yourself, am I just making excuses for something, even though I know it's not really for me?
That's a good point. And I'd like to expand on that just a smidge right there, is that the excuses also align with familiarity. So we allow things in our lives to continue because we're just like, okay, well, this is so normal to me. I know how to work with it. And if we were to take ourselves out of this situation, okay, using a bad relationship as the example that you brought up, if we were to take ourselves out of it, would we know what to do beyond that? So then it becomes a safety in a sense, right? So it's this whole safety, and individually, we make a decision to, like you said, give them a hall pass, or just, bring some comfort around it in our way of thinking. And really, it's such a great opportunity for us to rewrite how we decide we want to move through life. So that intuition of, needing to get out, it can happen, and it should happen, because otherwise it wouldn't even be alive inside of you, But I feel like the further that we perpetuate the relationship in terms of allowing them to show up and we react or respond to them the same way, it's just the message around it of needing to get out is going to get louder, and it's going to get different. And we're going to be faced with something else. It may not be tomorrow. It may not be a week from now, but eventually it evolves into something else in order to get our attention, to shove us into the next level of ourself. And that's, I think that's important to keep in mind as well.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Because, we are conditioned from childhood, right? From when we're born to where we are now. And that safety factor is so important. And it's so interesting how they've done studies on children, and they've actually learned that a child will go back to his or her abuser because it's safe. And they will choose that every time, even though they know they're going to be abused. And I thought that was so interesting, because it's like, wow, they literally don't see any other option. They don't see beyond, like you were saying, they don't see beyond the choice, because that unknown sometimes can be so terrifying that they would just choose that familiarity, even if it's painful.
Yeah. And because, again, along the lines of the children, it's like the brains aren't even fully developed until the mid-20s, and even closer to 30 for men, according to some studies. But the other thing is that a child doesn't know their power. And as a matter of fact, most people don't even know their own power. I didn't know my own power. It wasn't even introduced to me until, like, how long ago was this? Like, it took a different level in 2013. And it's like I was introduced to myself differently through a message from heaven, because I used to have these out of body experiences. And it was one of those. And what I realized in that is that, oh my gosh, there is an innate power. And that innate power really connects to our gut feeling and to our instinct, because that power is love speaking to us through our body, through the kinetic whatever that we're designed with. I mean, you probably are well versed in I'm not, is what I'm trying to preface it as, is that, the chakras and meridians, and these are things that I've heard of. But basically, it comes down to energy points. And that I'm really getting into, especially writing this book that I'm working on right now. And the energy of love can transform anyone. So if we like, I don't know, it's my hope that someday, or I should say my desire, well, it's kind of the same thing. All right, whatever. But to teach this to kids early, that, you know what? You have an instinct. You have a feeling. Let's go on it. More like the Montessori method.
Sure.
You allow them to connect with what it is they are interested in. You teach them the other stuff, as well. But okay, what do you really want to focus on? Because that's who you are. I loved that method. I did that for my son. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great idea. I think there's a lot of things that they don't teach in school that should be taught, and intuition is definitely one of them, because that's natural in humans. We are naturally intuitive, and we need to remember that as well.
And you know what? I'm sorry to interject and cut you off like I just did, but I got to tell you got me all excited now about talking about this, because the intuition is our voice.
That's right.
Voice, and so like the whole acronym of love is light, organic, voice, and echo. So our voice starts speaking to us when we go, oh, I have a feeling around this, the intuition. That's what I wanted to share.
Yeah, definitely. So for those of you who are just tuning in, we are talking about intuition versus fear today. And we are also going to be answering your questions right here on the show. And I'm actually going to bring up a pair of hands here in just a moment. But before that, I want to just let everyone know that Megan is going to be teaching a class. And I believe it's starting tomorrow.
Yes.
Is that right? Okay. So let's talk a little bit about your class.
Sure. It's called Why You Went Quiet, the mind that went quiet. Okay. And there are so many going on my acronym of love. I teach from that always. That's the structure of who we are. And there are so many ways in which our voices are silenced and go quiet in life. And we begin to make choices that we're sometimes not even aware of that we are doing. So we make choices in terms of familiarity, like getting back to the relationship and leaving a bad relationship. Instead of leaving, if we choose to stay for whatever period of time, we're actually quieting ourselves to another level. I'm just using that as the example right here. But I get into a lot of really cool philosophical stuff and scientific stuff. And it was all inspired by my near-death experience. So I get so geeky in my head, like I'm going, oh, I can't wait to tell them this. I can't wait till they learn this, because it's so fresh to what is known, currently in our world. And if anybody ever, if anybody knows this, I don't know about them. It's all new to me in terms of teaching it, because I know it and I'm like, okay, who else knows this? I don't know anybody.
So how long is your class?
It's a 6-week course, and it's 1 hour every Sunday, and it's awesome.
All right. Well, and I put the link in the chat as well, as we have it on the screen here. So if you're interested in learning directly from Megan, she is a wonderful teacher, and she definitely knows her stuff. And she's also very entertaining, in my opinion. She makes it fun. So yeah, go check it out, everyone. And I also have an announcement on my end. If you guys just want to head over to ascension17.com, my regular website, just sign up for my newsletter. I'm going to be launching my new app called Soul Compass. So maybe we
exciting.
could talk a little bit more about that next week. But anyway, it's going to be amazing and something that can help guide you actually in your spiritual life every single day. So it's something that I've been working on for actually quite a few years, and it's finally coming out. So
And I'd like to say that you've shown it to me just recently, and I am so impressed with the depth that you have put into this, and the years of experience are just so visible. When you look at the detail that you put into it, I mean, I was like blown away when I saw it. It was
Thank
beautiful.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's definitely a labor of love. So, all right. So we're going to go to your hands and we're going to tune in. Megan's going to also tune in. So I'm going to bring up some hands that we had submitted last week. So by the way, if you want to be featured on the show, you got to click on that QR code and you got to submit your hands in advance. And the reason for that is so that I can bring them up and look at them live like we're doing here. All right. So this question came in from, and I'm so sorry if I don't pronounce your name correctly, Polite Kumzile. Okay, so thank you so much for submitting your hands. And if you happen to be on watching live right now, I'm going to answer your question. So you wanted to know about love was a question that came in. And so I want to just talk about just that, that's a very general, we can say a lot of things about love, obviously. But in terms of the hands, okay, love, we want to look at, we have a couple of lines to look at. We have relationship lines, which are located on the side of the hand called the percussion. Okay, so this area right here that is just below the little finger is where we would look. And then this uppermost line is called the heart line. Okay, so that is, we're going to look at this from this angle as well. Okay, so what I see first off with you is, okay, this affection line just below that little finger, it looks to me like it is present. Okay, so first of all, if you don't have an affection line, that can be, basically saying that love is not on the board, so to speak. But I would say that it is for you if you don't have a partner, if you're looking for one. And it also looks to me like you are open to a relationship. And again, this is because of how the line is showing up. So I would definitely say you're, at least on your end, you're open to receiving, you're open to exploring the possibility of love. But we also want to look at the heart line. And the heart line is actually very low set. Okay, so sometimes on the hand, you can see where the line starts. Sometimes it's got a lot of real estate space on the hand, and other times it's up a little bit higher. And this is what I would call a low set heart line. And because of that, I would say you've got some emotions that are running very, very deep in you. And it could be from a past relationship or something that's happened to you, but there's definitely some protection that I'm seeing around you, like you want to protect your heart. You don't want to get hurt. And this is also showing up in your heart line because this is a very earthy heart line, which means that your emotions are guarded and you keep them in check. And you don't necessarily want to share, what it is that you're actually feeling right away, which, there's not one better or worse than another, by the way. So it's okay to have a heart line like this, but it's good to know what your hands are telling you so that if you want to change it, you can respond differently. So in your case, I would say you need to have something going on in your life besides a relationship. You need to have a mission or something that gets you excited. And you also need to maybe look at some of those deeper emotions, especially from your past, that maybe need to heal or need to shift. All right. And I'm going to send it over to Megan because I'm sure she's got some comments as well.
I do. As a matter of fact, you know that I did the prayer before we started. So I'd already connected us to heaven. And one of the things that I saw was a head looking down, and the energy of the body goes within, is very withdrawn. And I also heard the word desperate. So don't be desperate. In alignment with what Cynthia is saying here, don't be desperate to have a relationship with just anyone. It's not worth it. It's not worth the energy. It's not worth your time. One of the messages around this also that heaven wants you to know is they'd like you to step into yourself with conviction. In other words, this also goes in line with what Cynthia was just saying a moment ago, but stepping inside of yourself with conviction is to allow yourself to feel and to allow yourself the emotions, to allow yourself to have an opinion, a thought about something, because I feel like you've restricted yourself. The feeling that I'm getting around the visual that I'm seeing right now is that you've restricted yourself in some way. And this could be culturally, this could be, familially, religiously. It could be one of the structures, that helped create this composition of yourself. But keep in mind that every composition is just the thread in our life that we're actually here to work with. So because I don't see time normally. Most of the time I don't. Maybe this is something that you've already been through. Maybe this is something that you're actually currently going through and trying to address at this time. Maybe this is just advice for how to move through your life at this time, and is a future thing. But don't lose yourself. It's really important that you are connected to your feelings, because I'm also hearing that your body is it's shutting down in certain ways, not physically, okay? But I mean, I can speak from my own experience, from my NDE, is that if you don't listen to yourself and you don't address your feelings and your emotions, your body does shut down. I mean, that was my reality. It doesn't mean it has to be yours or anybody else's, but your body is retracting in a way, is what I'm hearing, because it's saying, okay, but what do I do with all of this? I'm not allowed to be me. I'm not allowed to have an opinion around something. I'm not allowed to have a declaration of what I think about this situation. So I get there's just restriction in her. So
yeah. So we wish you the best, Polite.
Absolutely.
And yeah, and by the way, we also want to mention that if you want to take your reading to a deeper level, we also do a higher guidance circle, and I'm going to bring up some information about that. And it's really designed for you to have a conversation with Megan and me in a much more intimate way. So obviously when we do live streams, we can really only communicate through chat, and, we can't get a response from you other than through the chat to get to know you a little bit better. And so we can help you in a deeper way. So we do this higher guidance circle for you to really come in with those deeper questions, and you can ask live to us and we'll respond to you. And so we do this inner circle, this higher guidance circle. We do it every other Friday, and we start at 5:30 in the afternoon Arizona time. So depending on where you are, obviously, would be whatever your time zone is. But we limit it to just 10 people. And for that reason, everybody gets a reading, everybody gets to be included. But what's cool about those higher guidance circles is that sometimes someone else gets their question answered and it actually will apply to you as well. So a lot of things can come up very synchronistic that are kind of fun. And definitely everybody gets to learn from each other. And it's a really fun evening. So if you're interested, I just put up the QR code for that, and you can join us in our next circle. So we are talking about intuition versus fear today. And I want to also just talk a little bit about, what are the different types of intuition? Because a lot of people maybe don't realize that you have more than one type of intuition. And, it's good for you to tune into all the different types to really understand, what is strong or natural in yourself. So, for example, we have, most people have heard of clairvoyance, right? So clear seeing. Maybe you're clairsentient, which is clear feeling. Maybe you get those little goosebumps, right? Maybe you're clairaudient, where you actually hear things and you're like, wow, where did that voice come from? Who is that just spoke to me? Or maybe you're claircognizant and you just suddenly have a knowing, so it's, I was wondering how does it come in for you, Megan, and how, or maybe all of those ways, but yeah, what would you have to say about that?
Yeah, it's interesting because after my near-death experience, it all started with the hearing. That's where it started first with me. But then over the years after that, it would develop at a pace that I say is heaven's pace. And I have had even the taste, the smell of connecting with somebody. And it's bizarre because I can smell a situation. And so they come in various ways. And it's like whatever it is that will best express what's happening for the individual or for myself, it comes in that way. Now heaven does different things with me personally. Like they'll give it to me through dream state and messages right before. I call it dream state, but it's not, because they're always messages right before I wake up, and then I forget them. And it's like, oh, okay. But one of the things you spoke about the voice, and the first time I heard a voice helping me was while I was in the hospital, and I was trying to get this doctor's attention, telling him that I knew that I was dying. Okay. Because he hadn't diagnosed me yet of what was going on in my body. Nobody diagnosed me. I just knew it. I instinctively knew it. And the first voice I ever heard said, make a scene, make it big, or you won't make it out. So I was an atheist then, and I knew I was in a Catholic hospital. So I thought, oh, this is like a dream state, for me. In the moment. Okay. It was a twisted situation, but and it was extremely dire, but I heard that voice and I thought to myself, I have no idea who just said that to me, because it's only the doctor standing in front of me. And I didn't say it. He didn't say it. I'm going to go with it. And I did it. And then he just stood there, didn't move. And it was almost like a toddler looking at me and going, I'm not going to do it. I'm just not going to do it. And so I had to get more aggressive in the way in which I spoke. So I raised my tone. I, threw in expletives. And a Catholic in an instant, or a Christian, or anybody else for that matter. And that seemed to work. So he understood that he was fired, because the first time I fired him, he didn't move. But that was a moment where I followed what I heard, and it literally turned out to save my life, because he had stopped, and heaven knew he's already resigned you to death. He doesn't know what to do with you. So you have to make the shift. And so when I fired him, and he finally did get fired, and then the little nurse came in telling me there was no other doctor, and then I had to threaten her too, I could have been her mother. I felt so badly, but look, you're not listening to me. Just get me a doctor. And so another doctor came in who I remember looking at, not understanding what was happening, but this was like the introduction to everything that wound up developing further and further in terms of what it is that we're talking about here. And as I looked at this doctor, I was scanning her with my eyes. It was the weirdest thing. It was like some sort of Star Trek thing. And I'm a Twilight fan. So I don't know, but it was like so futuristic for me in a way when I think back on that moment. And I remember just looking at her, and then the voice said, "You can relax now. She knows what she's doing." And literally I took that voice as cue. So I allowed my body to relax. So it's like these types of things, that was new to me. And all I can say to like have closure on why it is that I'm sharing this is, don't be the skeptic to yourself and to the experience. And, oh, this isn't happening. I must be crazy. Oh, it's being said in my voice. Oh, it's this. Don't dismiss anything, because our bodies and our highest self, which is the angelic self that we all are, speaks to us however it needs to speak to us and get our attention. That's simply what was happening.
Definitely. Yeah. And I'm glad you brought up dreams, because dreams are actually a really great way to connect to your intuition. And it's actually one of my favorite ways to do it. And so I personally like to keep a dream journal next to my bed and a pen. I always have at least 2 pens, because what I like to do is the second I wake up, before I open my eyes, I like to just ask the question, where was I? What was I just doing? And that makes it real, right? It keeps it real. And then I can usually pick out one thing that I was remembering from my dream, and then I write it down as soon as I wake up. So, and then I go back and I analyze the dream, and that actually becomes a central theme for my whole day.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's really fun to try this, by the way. And I'm the first one to admit that I don't remember my dreams very well. Okay, because I hear this comment all the time. Oh, I can't remember my dreams. It's like, well, how hard have you tried to remember them? Because if you don't have a journal next to your bed, I'm telling you, you're going to lose them almost immediately. And so you really need to be diligent in it. It's like intuition is like that. Stuff comes in extremely fast, and it also leaves extremely fast. So we need to be how can we capture it, right? So dreams are a great way to, if you have a journal, to capture the dream. Don't analyze it. Just write down as much as you can remember, and you analyze it later. Okay. So that's what I like to do. And I can't tell you how many times I've had dreams coming in that were absolutely directly relevant to my day and relevant to a question I had maybe the day before or that week, something that you're struggling with, or you need to make a decision about something and you're not sure which way to go. And the dream is going to help you actually know what to do. So
I love it like that, because I do write them down first thing in the morning because otherwise they get further and further away from my brain. I'll forget it. That's the whole thing. I will write it down. And sometimes I'll speak them into my voice recorder on my phone. And then I go through and I write it. But what's fascinating about your share is that I don't use it for my day. I always think okay, what is heaven trying to tell me right now? What is it? When does this happen? I can still remember this one visual / message that I got 11 or 12 years ago. And it was in a gas station, and the prices of the gas had gone up at the gas tank, and so significantly. And it was like over $4. And this is back when it was, $2 and something. And then there was a little person who was filling up the gas. And what's interesting is that I have a connection with, I had affiliations with some in my life, and one being Billy Barty in my near-death experience. And what makes him stand out to me in this regard and in this message, and this is how I kind of took it, was that he was a maverick of his time. Like, he used his platform very well to bring about justice for other little people who were not being treated with equality in terms of being paid in the industry. So he was a go-getter, and he was he was an amazing actor, singer, dancer. I mean, he was an entertainer. He was incredible. But yeah, so it was like heaven was giving me these pieces, and it was in this little car. It was a little car. I've never had a little car. And so I'm looking at all of this, and I'm watching. It's almost like sometimes I feel like they're giving me a message to just be the observer of what's happening. I don't know. I never thought about
Yes. Being the observer is always good,
Yeah.
because then you can really get out of yourself, right? Because
Yeah.
sometimes we're too close to things, and if we look at it more from a perspective of the observer, then we can really learn. And I do feel like dreams are always symbolic of ourselves. So I've heard from multiple people that everybody in the dream is actually you. And
Oh.
that's also really interesting. So different aspects of you. Although I do feel like sometimes other people are actually represented in dreams, depending on what the dream is. I wouldn't say that's 100% true, but a lot of times it is true. So, but yeah, I love to plug into my my AI, my Chat GPT, and I'll actually read to it the entire dream. And I have a whole dream journal just with that, which is kind of fun. So, and it's very good at analyzing it. So,
I
yeah,
gotta try that.
yeah.
You have to try that, because that sounds fascinating. See what AI thinks.
Yeah, because it can come in with the symbols, right? The symbology of everything, So, and I also look at my life that way too. Like, if something happens, I look at the symbology of what is happening. So, for example, last night we were outside by the pool, and there was this this little bat, because it comes out around. We get bats at sunset, and they come down, they swoop down, and they grab the mosquitoes off of the top of the pool, and then they fly around, and they're really fun to watch, actually. But this one little bat, he like went too far into the pool, and he kind of got soaked. And so then he was trying to crawl out of the pool, and he was literally on top of our skimmer, like our shark, that we have a hose that goes across. And what happened was, I'm like, oh my gosh, we got to save whatever this thing is, because I just saw him like climbing across the pool. So we grabbed the net and we picked him up. And then I was thinking, and he was fine, by the way. I was really happy we saved him. And he was this adorable little tiny bat. And I'm like, oh, what is the symbol of the bat?
Did you look it up in the totem meanings?
No, I didn't. I was wondering if you knew what the symbol is.
No, but not off the top of my head. But it's so weird you said that, because 2 years ago, literally in August, it'll be 2 years, I came home from the IONS conference in Phoenix. And I remember I went into my room, and I have a sliding glass door and a screen. And there was a bat on the screen. And it stayed for, I think it was there for 2 weeks. And I couldn't believe it. And I was like, what are you trying to tell me? What are you trying to tell me? And I looked it up. I don't remember what it was, but it was fascinating. And so I believe the bat has messages for sure.
Yeah.
And it applied to what was going on in my life at that time, come to think of it. So, yeah.
Well, the one thing I definitely think is interesting about bats is that they are practically blind, and they use sonar to, move around. Right? So maybe it has something to do with, don't use your eyes to see. Again, that's all about intuition, right?
Yeah.
So use your,
way. Oh.
Yeah, use your instincts, use your sonar.
Okay. I was reading yesterday, dolphins use their telepathic communication. So that's kind of like the same thing as the sonar, you know?
Well, that's true. Definitely, I've heard dolphins and whales are very similar to bats in that way.
Mm.
Yeah, they use sonar to figure out where they're going and things like
I
that.
mean, that's just like saying telepathy in heaven because they do speak telepathic ways. I mean, I did it. I spoke as I'm speaking with you and sharing with you right now, but you also do it telepathically and it is so incredible. It is such a cool skill.
Absolutely. So yeah, we had a question come into the chat
Okay.
from Lily, and she just says, "Hi, Cynthia and Megan. Is it too late to submit questions for soul reading higher guidance?" Well, if you want me to read your hands, you do need to scan the QR code and you need to submit them for next week. Okay, so typically I will be reading someone's question in the next show, which we do every Saturday morning at the same time. So come back next week. But if you want to just submit a question, like a general question for the show, you can totally just type it into the chat right now. And Megan and I can tune in. I can also pull one of my palmistry tarot cards to get the answer that way. So yeah, I don't necessarily have to read your hands to get an answer. But yeah, so if anyone has a question, feel free to just type it into the chat right now.
Well, why don't I just like connect us and then just see what comes out for Lily?
Yeah, sure, we could do that.
Okay. All right.
And she just typed in the chat. She said, "Thank you. I was hoping to be open to any insight regarding my soul path. I'd love to learn anything that might be around my timeline. My higher self wants me to know." Yeah, and I can pull a card for you too. So
Okay.
I've got my palmistry tarot deck, which is always right here, and I'll just pull a card for you, and then Megan will have an answer for you as well. And yeah, everybody, this is what this is all about. We're here to help you and guide you in the ways that we know, and definitely, it's an evolution, the pathway that is always unfolding. So while Megan's tuning in, I'm going to go ahead and pull a card for you, and we'll just talk about what it is. Okay, so the first card I'm getting here is the inverted 3 of water. Okay, this is all about support lines. Okay, so the message that I get right here is that you maybe are overextending yourself in helping everyone else. Don't forget about helping yourself. So how can you set up success for yourself? How can you support yourself in what you need to move forward in your life? So obviously watching shows like this is really positive and really good for you. But what else can you do? How can you love yourself more, for example? How can you treat yourself with kindness? How can you be your own best friend? That is the message I'm getting from this 3 of water. All right.
Okay, so what I got was that there's focus needed here, Lily, for you in really steering clear of what others are thinking, or I'm also hearing subjecting you to. So whatever your situation is, whatever your circumstances are, just like feel comfortable with where you're at. The other thing is that as I was saying the prayer, it got a little bit and there's a rhythm to the words. So every time I say a prayer, it's always about the person, the individual that I'm connecting with. And again, I don't see time. So this could be something that you've already been through. It could be something that you're currently going through, or something that you can be on the lookout for the future. But I'm getting that it's almost like a discombobulation is the word that I'm getting. So have more organization around what it is that you're trying to develop, because I'm also getting that you're trying to develop something right now for yourself and for others. You're very instructive in what it is that you do. And you're very loving. You are such a gentle soul is the feeling that I'm getting around you. And give yourself permission to be the fullness of who you are, because they're showing me like the wings flying. And then Archangel Michael is walking toward me right now to show me that he's in your life, is what I'm seeing for you. So you have a lot of protection around you. And as Cynthia had just pointed out about the love, loving yourself, accepting yourself. Just don't ask questions. Just allow yourself to be exactly where you are right now. Like you haven't done anything wrong or against the program of your purpose in life is how I'm hearing it. It's like you're showing up and you're being the fullness of yourself. So when you get out of bed, just be that, set the intention for your day. Say, all right, here's what I feel right now, and let it evolve, allow it to develop further in your day. But this is going to help you a lot. And also, I am worthy is what I'm hearing around you. So I am love. I am worthy. So if I were you, I would put a little Post-it or write on the Post-it and stick it on your refrigerator or your mirror in your bathroom. Like, I am love, just look at that and let that be your mantra. And if you think, but I do love myself. I do love myself. Okay, well, I believe you. But then this is about graduating to the next level of love for yourself. So yeah, that's what I got strongly.
Yeah. And just to add on to that comment, the card is showing puppies. Okay. There's puppies on this card.
Aww.
And so when I think of a puppy, I think of unconditional love, right? And so a lot of times the love that we have for ourselves is extremely conditional. It's like, oh, I should have been farther along by now. I should have figured this out by now. Why am I still struggling with this? When am I ever going to figure this out? Like, those are the kinds of negative self-talk that we do subconsciously all day long, and we don't even realize it. So, but what does a puppy do? A puppy just loves you, right? They just come up to you. And I know my puppy does this, and he's just like, oh, it's a great new day. I love this. This is so exciting. And they, even if you don't feed them or you don't take care of them, you don't throw the ball, whatever it is that they want you to do, they will still love you totally unconditionally. So I want you to start looking at yourself that way. How are you not loving yourself fully and totally and unconditionally?
Absolutely. And right now I'm hearing, to add on to what you're saying, is that life experience is happening there for her also. So life experience, as Jesus said to me in heaven, he said, Megan, what if I were to tell you that every experience that you've had in life is a child within you? So in other words, well, read it however you want. And then he says, what would you do to those children? And at first, immediately I said, without hesitation, evict them. And they're old enough to take care of themselves, and it's not my responsibility. So as we talked further, because he informed me, okay, that's where you're at. He didn't laugh at me, by the way. I'm thinking about it. But it was, okay, well, we definitely need to talk about this more. And after that, he asked me a question again. And he said, Megan, what if I were to tell you every experience is a child within you? He said, but keep in mind, every child is you. That was my light bulb moment. And then I went, oh my gosh, I have a responsibility here. And it developed over the years, of course, that moment, 19 years ago now, that developed into giving myself permission to give myself the permission to just love myself as I am and not seek outside guidance anywhere else. It was about guiding myself, being the parent to myself as well, because that mother role kicked in for me. And you don't have to have children to have a mother role. You can have an animal. I have a dog. I have a son too, but I have a dog, just like Cynthia was saying. And we have to show up for these little souls because they are so dependent on us, And so here we are, and they just love, 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 love. Any child, unless their instincts are saying, nope, don't trust that person, any child is going to listen. They're going to listen without any bias until they feel something, So it's I guess that whole thing developed, that conversation, accept our experiences in life. They aren't to break us. They're to help us know our role as the parent to ourself, as the leader to ourself. So you don't want to call yourself a parent to yourself? No problem. Call yourself your leader to yourself. I mean, it's a powerful position. It's actually like the sovereignty that people are saying, oh, yes, this is a sovereign, whatever. All right, well, you've got to get there in yourself. You know what I mean? Like, you can't keep giving that power away. So that comment from Jesus, boy, it was big, and it's developed. So that's for Lily and anybody else who's listening, because that's what you're supposed to hear right now. So
Yeah, and Lily just typed into the chat. She said, wow, that's amazing. I've been resting from over empathy and black sheep syndrome, getting my energy back and focus. I parented everyone else but myself. By the way, there is a black sheep syndrome marker in your hands if you want to check that. I know, and a lot of people have it, by the way. But it's located in the ring finger of your hand. And what happens with that finger is it cinches in like a belt, like somebody took a belt and like tied it tight. And we call that wasting. Okay, so wasting in Apollo is the sign of the black sheep. So if you happen to have that in your hands, that is definitely one of the indicators.
wow.
Okay, she's also asking, what is the main source of the discombobulation energy? Where is that coming from?
Your mother, she taught you how to second guess. I'm hearing second guessing. I'm hearing that it goes way back to your childhood. I'm hearing that it's like, finding peace with that whole experience. And you could say, oh, but my mother and I had a great relationship. It doesn't matter. There was still something there that was derived from that experience and relationship with her. Additionally, you have to understand that her way of being came from her parents, her upbringing, what she learned. So there's a rhythm that got put into your life. There's just this rhythm.
Yeah. And I just pulled a card on that as well. And I got the 8 of Fire. And to me, that card really represents just having too many things going on, too many distractions. Mm-hmm. And so it's important to really, when you're feeling discombobulated, it's really important to ground yourself. Mm-hmm. So yeah, if your mother gave you that energy, how can you come back to a centeredness? And, I like to practice, it's a Qigong method, by the way, that I've been using this for 26 years. And it's called the 3 intentful corrections. Okay. And you can do it really fast too, by the way. It doesn't have to take all day. And you can do it from your desk or wherever you are. But number 1 is you focus on your breath. So you bring your attention back to, okay, I'm just going to take some deep breaths. And number 2 is you want to focus on your thoughts. Okay, what negative thought was I just having? Think of your thoughts like clouds. They come in and out. And if it's a negative one, just let it float on by and keep going. And then the third thing is tune into your body and just say, okay, where am I feeling discomfort in my body? Because that is showing you where you want to heal right now. So for example, if you have a pain in your hip, it's like, oh, my body's telling me something. And you, instead of ignoring it or saying, oh, well, you shouldn't be there, pain, get out of here. Go into that part of your body and just send it love. Say, I love you. I love you for showing me what I needed to be aware of, right? So we always want to honor ourselves. So you do those 3 intentful corrections, and that can immediately center you. And you'll notice a difference over time, especially if you practice it a lot. So, and then let me just read her comment here. She says, oh, wow, yes, I've been standing up for a lot the last year, going to court, speaking up, etc. And she made me feel like I was being disruptive instead of stepping into myself. Okay, so, all right. Okay,
Okay.
go ahead, Megan.
The other thing that I just started thinking about because of what you were saying, Cynthia, is the black sheep. And I thought, gosh, okay, the black sheep, the black sheep. Okay. I know how that term was used in my family growing up. So I just sat here and went, oh, that's where we learned how to be the victim. If
Yeah.
you think about it, being labeled in that way or feeling that way is giving us the opportunity to view ourselves as being the victim of life, whatever that's around. Okay, so it's also to step into the new role with yourself, and as you talk to yourself and in your thoughts, okay, because those thoughts matter, you say, oh, yeah, that's what they've called me. I get it now. Yeah, we're not speaking the same language. Our classes have diverted. So, in other words, they stayed in, let's say they wanted to just learn about the birds, okay, in whatever class that is in nature. And you decided, I'm going to go take this philosophical course. Oh, wow, that was so good. I'm going to take that philosophical course again. Meanwhile, they decided, I want to go out to recess. All right. So then you keep developing and developing further because what you're doing is mastering something. And so I really feel like looking at this differently now, this is just how I'm thinking right now, is that the black sheep means that you've mastered something underneath the victim of being different than what's going on in your life, in your world. So that's really a gift now that I think about it. That's what
Right. And by the way, we're going to talk about this more next week because our topic for next week is the personality rupture. And we're going to actually talk about how our identity gets split and how that happens. And we're also going to be looking at the soul versus the personality and how can we make them work together. So that's going to be our topic for next week. I'm really excited for Megan's insights on that too. But yeah, I want to just mention, if you want to take the conversation deeper, join our next Higher Guidance Circle, which is every other Friday. So the next one is going to be Friday, the 10th of July. And we start at 5:30 in the evening, which is Arizona time. So that's right now it's Pacific time. And you can come in, you can talk to both Megan and myself. You can upload your hand photos. I will look at your hands in more detail to see what's going on. And it's only $97. We limit it to 10 people. It's really a great value if you're interested in that. And also, Megan has a class that is starting tomorrow. So I'm going to bring that back up again in case you guys missed it. But she is definitely a wonderful teacher, as you can all see. And so there's the link there. Go to conversationswithmegan.com. And then this is I also put it in the chat too, by the way, if you guys want to just grab it from the chat. So Megan, talk just again really quickly about what that class is about.
Okay, it's the mind that went quiet, and everything that I do is around love. I've developed the acronym for love, and I branch it out as to how it applies to you in a period of time in your life. And so the mind that went quiet is a mind who has learned, I have to withhold, I have to silence myself, I have to do this. You've allowed something outside of yourself to take form in how you move forward in life now. And it became normal. It just became this normal patterning. So how do you get your real self back? And that's what the course is about, allowing yourself to know who you are and to know why you went quiet. And you could say, oh, I know what it was. It was that time, da, 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 da. Yeah, well, that was part of it, because there's something more that develops in that period of time and had already developed before that period of time. And so we're going to talk about that as well in this course. I'm really excited. I get so excited and lit up within when I think about it, because This is all, wisdom. I call it the wisdom of love that I learned in my near-death experience. And it's not a religious thing, by the way. I'm not anti-religion. I'm just saying, like, I'm not basing it in that. It's more of lived philosophy experience and from my NDE. So,
all right, well, perfect. So thanks everybody for joining us this week. I definitely want to wish everybody in America a happy 4th of July. And keep it safe out there, everybody. Unfortunately, we have an enormous fire here in Sedona that's been really plaguing our air quality. Unfortunately, it's really sad. Luckily, my house is safe right now. But yeah, it's been rough. But yeah, this is a good time to celebrate freedom, celebrate your life, celebrate, what does freedom mean to you, and how important is it to you to be able to express yourself and be yourself? These are really important things to be able to do. So, especially if you're like me, who's been burned at the stake more than once in a past life.
Or in this life, verbally with judgment. Oh, trust me.
Exactly. So I'm excited to connect with you all again next week. Please scan that QR code, join us for the Higher Guidance Circle, or just submit your hands for analysis for next week, and submit your question. We would love to assist you, and we wish everybody the best all the time, and let's ascend together. So have a wonderful day, everybody.
See you next week.